Have you ever asked your parents for a good chunk of money to buy something, only to not use that thing some 2 months later? Maybe it's a video game, a certain pair of shoes, or a piece of sporting equipment. That was me with all of my college textbooks. You see, when I was in college, God called me to go on a mission trip to Tanzania, which is in Eastern Africa. At the time, I had never done anything like this, and I didn't know what I was saying yes to. I just knew that God had called me. One of the things I didn't know was how much it was going to cost to go on the trip. It was going to cost $3,600, not including the equipment and other necessities for the trip. As the deadlines for the funds was approaching, I was getting worried about how I was going to get that $1,000 that I was missing after I sent letters asking people for donations and the money I had collected as a full-time student. And man, I was worried. I started reading in the scriptures and journaling, and God gave me this statement: your story, my glory. I wrote it down, I believed it, and I said it over and over again. And this stood as a turning point in the beginning phases of this trip. One day, my mom had this brilliant idea, and it was to make this Mexican dish called enchiladas. We were gonna serve them with rice and beans, and we were gonna sell these plates to fundraise the money for the mission trip. But hold on a second, look at this. This is God's good creation right here. Oh, get a whiff. Can y'all smell that? Tap your screen, scratch it maybe. Scratch it. Can you smell that? Oh, hallelujah. It makes me want to go, come on, man. That's so good. So we got all of the things necessary for the food. We cooked and we started serving around lunchtime out of our house. We had so many family and friends stop by. My cousins were delivering plates. And with this great idea, coming after God encouraged me, I was able to make the deadline, purchase all of the things needed for the mission trip so that I can walk in what God called me to do. And that's share the good news of what Jesus has for us and the people of Tanzania. During my time in Tanzania, we were building this home for Muslim background believers, for individuals who grew up Muslim, but then they were kicked out of their homes because they accepted Christ. And so as we're laying the foundation, we're transporting bricks and rocks into the house, and these 3 little boys come up and start helping us. We didn't speak the same language, but they saw what we were doing, and they came to be a part of it. These 3 little boys actually did a lot of work, and we got to pay them with Jolly Ranchers, and it was a great time. And it reminded me God can do big things through small acts of faith. I love the story of Jesus feeding the 5,000. Not only is it found in all 4 of the Gospels, but it shows us how God can do big things through small acts of faith. In John chapter 6, verses 1 through 15, Jesus is teaching about 5,000 men, plus women and children. And when he sees the great crowd, he suddenly asks the disciples, where could we find bread to be able to feed the multitude of people? One of the disciples, Philip, he says, it would be way too expensive to feed these people. While another disciple, Andrew, said, there's this boy here who's got 5 small barley loaves of bread and 2 small fish. But then he starts questioning what he just said. How far would that go among so many? Jesus then instructs the disciples to have the multitude of individuals have a seat in the grass. And then he takes the small fish and loaves, gives thanks to God, and he began distributing to the people as much food as they wanted. They ended up having so much food that they collected 12 baskets full of leftovers. They all left that place amazed at the sign that Jesus performed, saying, this is the prophet who is coming into the world. There's different factors that can hinder us from allowing God to do something big through something small. We can be insecure, we can overthink, we can underestimate. But here's my question for you today. What is that one thing that God asked you to do? Are you going to be obedient and do it? Hey, I want you to pray about it, think about it, and tell your group leader about it so that you both can walk through this together, walking in step with obedience to God. Hey, remember, God can do something big through something small.